Hey guys, welcome to another ride in the struggle bus where every wheel is an empty triangle. On today's bus ride, we are playing against a 10K on OGS, and it's somebody who has already watched these videos, so he's familiar with the channel, which is always fun. That's one of the great things of doing these videos is running into people who are already familiar with it. And so hopefully our friend was excited to play along today. I changed this up a little bit. I wanted to play a little more dynamically. I want to start focusing a little more on the nitty gritty, like fighting details, because I know a lot of you guys struggle with that. I think we've done enough just going over the pure basics of of Fuseki. We need to start getting into the middle game a little bit more and getting some more fun interactions there. So you're going to notice I play a little more dynamically in this game. Anyway, as per always, I'd like to thank our opponent for playing us today. I'd like to thank you guys for watching this video, and I'd like to thank my Patreon subscribers for supporting the channel. So with the introduction out of the way, let's get into this game. Okay, let's go. We are playing against a 10K on OGS, and you've heard me say this many times before, but he's knocking on the door of single-digit Q. So let's see how he does with our beloved basic rules. Okay, so he's going to do a far approach here. That's kind of interesting. We're going to ignore this one. We're going to try to play a little more dynamically and maybe change the focus a little bit of these games. Keep them on basics, but, maybe get into the more interesting positions where, maybe we can get some more fights or whatnot. But anyway, so here, instead of sliding, I'm going to play the large extension back, which is a move I'm sure you guys have seen. But by playing moves like this, it will invite more fights. So, okay, so our friend extends on the bottom. I think we should go after this stone. We'll go on this side. We're still definitely going to follow the basics. The basics are important, regardless of what your goal with the game is, what your play style is going to be, and what you're aiming for in that particular game. Still need to go over the basics. Still need to follow the rules, so we'll definitely be doing that. Okay, so our friends pincers, I almost always just jump into the 3-3. We can look at jumping out, but this is just simpler. It's a nice solid variation. That's an interesting move there. I think we can just extend this way. We can also still just extend this way. Actually, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to extend this way, make him work a little bit on to actually capture that stone, because if he slides back, we get to Hane at the head of 2, which is really nice. And we can sacrifice that stone, right? Not every stone is important. And getting this Hane at the head of 2 is quite strong. And so that is what we are going to do here. I suspect that our friend will Hane, at which point I will continue pushing along. But let's see. Let's see what they end up doing. Okay. A nice dynamic move. Approaching our 3-4 stone. So now we're in a little bit of an awkward position with this stone because we've been approached on either side. And I'm not sure the best way to handle this. I'm just going to play this diagonal. It doesn't feel great. This move admittedly does not feel great, but I want to secure this. I want to make sure that we're somewhat strong in the corner, though I'm not too happy with this move, so that kind of tells me that I like this as a move for black. Black should probably do something to strengthen this stone now, because now that we're strong in the corner, we could pincer and go after this stone. So now our 4-4 gets approached, but it gets approached high. We can consider one of two things. We can just ignore this and go after this stone. We can also consider attaching here. We can also slide back. In this case, what do I want to do? I think I'm just going to attach underneath and see what variation our friend wants to do today. If they're going to Hane, if they're going to push, we will see what way this goes. I'm curious. Usually when you play the high approach, there's a specific reason for it. If you don't have a specific reason for it, then I suggest just the typical C6 approach. Okay, we will come back here. And now this is similar to the variation that we see when we play the 3-4 stone, right? If we had D3 instead, this is the same shape. The difference now, though, is our corner is quite a bit bigger because this isn't a 3-4 stone, it's a 4-4 stone. So black gets the same influence and shape and strength that they would normally get with this variation, but we get a larger corner. Okay, so now we're being kicked. I'm just going to extend. If we had approached and were kicked, we would have extended. And then if black slid back, we would have played Q10. So now this just reverts to what our typical variation is when we get kicked. Worth noting, R3 is still playable. Okay, so now black is looking to surround, and that is fine. The problem here is black is putting a lot of stock into the center of the board, and we know what that generally leads to, and it's not necessarily good things. Okay, so we have Sente. Where is the largest area on this board? The right side is pretty wide open. The left side's pretty wide open, and then we have the top. If black gets a move like K16 or J16, it'll be fairly efficient. But this area is smaller than both the left side and the right side. I do think I want to go after the left side here because we've got this stone that we can go after. And so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to pincer this stone, break this up a little bit. If black had taken D11, it would have been just a big move for that side. So I just want to break that up. Okay. So black ignores to go over here. That is interesting. So when we get attached, we typically want to respond to this, and our typical responses are to Hane or to extend. And I want to play this Hane. The issue with it, though, is there's a cut at E3. So if we play here and our opponent plays E3, and then we go block, there will be an Atari here. I can actually just show you instead of drawing it out. If we play here and black plays here, we block, but then black gets this Atari and this Atari, and that's not going to work for us. So we have to consider something different. I think I'm just going to extend here, which is going to leave a cut that black needs to be concerned with later. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to extend here, which threatens the cut, which we could take immediately, but I think I'm going to follow up on this move on the left because black will still have to fix this cut. It'll take another move to do it. So let's go after this stone a little bit. And so we've got two options. We can run out with this stone, or we can come out here and try to keep it separate. And I'm actually going to do that this way. I want to keep the stones split, and while this group runs, we can strengthen this stone. So I'm going to play here, which is good shape off of these two stones, separates these two stones, and then we can start working to make sure that this stone stays strong. If you were thinking about doing the other way, perfectly acceptable. I think it would have been fine to also jump out with the C12 stone. I think either could be justified. Okay, so I think this is a little problematic because we can already cut here, and in doing this, we're going to get strength, and this really isn't going to be a big area. This is almost like attaching to a weak stone because we were talking about how we strengthened this group and kind of left this stone, to handle the fight. So in doing that, it's kind of turned into a weak stone. So this is somewhat of an attachment because when we extend, black is going to feel compelled to answer this move. So it's similar to as if we already had D12 and black attached to that weak stone and we extended here. But now black, I'm sure, feels like they need to do something to help this stone. And so now both groups are going to get stronger. but white was potentially weak here. And so basically black is forcing both of us to get stronger, but I am more than happy to get stronger here because the C12 stone was not particularly strong. And that is why don't attach to weak stones is one of our Struggle Bus basic rules. Okay, and so black has decided to Hane here. I believe we will just Hane as well. Black should probably connect, at which point we will connect. Black could look at cutting, but I don't think it's going to work out too well. Okay, so black extended. I think we can probably push here, because as long as this group gets more liberties, this cut isn't too painful. If black cuts, we can Atari, and then Hane here, which will limit the number of liberties that black has. Liberties are important, and so we will just extend here to get more liberties for this group. If black was, which also lowers the number of liberties on D11, and that is what I'm considering to be important right now. Okay, so now we have a double Hane. So we can Atari and then Atari and connect, but I don't think that's necessarily going to be enough. We do need to be mindful of the fact that we have lost a liberty now. So now this cut turns back on and becomes relevant again. So we need to be mindful of that. I'm considering just playing here or just connecting here. And I do think I'm just going to play the second line move. And I know what you guys are saying right now. You're like, wait a second, it's really early for a second line move. And you're right, it is pretty early for a second line move. But this is actually being played to protect this cut. I'm just being very sneaky about it. Okay, so I'm going to extend one more time. Again, this is just fully getting this group alive and really undercutting this group. This is a good move. This is where I think where black should have played. So we're either going to connect or we're going to Hane. And the question is, are we worried about this Atari? And we are not. So I'm going to play this Hane. So this doesn't seem bad for either player. We're getting a fairly large corner here, but black's getting a lot of strength in the center. And so now this cut isn't as scary as it was once before for black, because black is so much stronger now in the area that black can probably endure this cut. And so we'll have to do something to reduce this area. Okay, so black plays here. I'm not so sure that we need to do anything about that. But if he pushes and we block and he cuts, that cut actually looks quite problematic. So I think we can probably descend here, and that will fix this cut. It'll also give us some follow-ups. And so you'll notice there's another early second line move here. It seems like I'm breaking that rule left and right, but I promise it is for a reason. It's because I'm looking for the efficient way to protect this cut. I didn't want to just play this ugly shape because we're not here to play empty triangles. This is not good. We could have considered the bamboo joint as another means of protecting the cut, but I do think that playing this was the better option because it has good follow-ups here. Okay, so black caps our stone here, and you want to know what? I'm a big fan of this move. I like this move quite a bit. It is clear what black is trying to do here. And by playing this, black threatens to do something, follow this up and weaken our area. So I'm going to play a move like this to help get into the center while also strengthening our group. Okay, that is an interesting move. That is an interesting move indeed. We will Hane underneath. And what's interesting about this is we actually don't need to connect. We can just extend, and when black captures, we can Atari. But let's just connect. We'll keep it simple. Black can't Hane here because of the various cuts, and so we can just push. And now I will jump, because this black can't push through and do anything, and now black connects up. And I think it's pretty clear what we need to do here. The question is just what is the best way to do it? Hey guys, so it's that time of the video where we get to ask you the important questions. So here, black center looks pretty scary. We should do something about it. So the question is, how far in can we actually jump? So that is the question that I'm posing to you. Where are you playing right now to start reducing black center? How deep are you willing to dive in? So let me know in the comments where you would have played here. Would have you played safe, or would have you gone in a little deeper than I did? I'm curious, so let me know. Anyway, back to the game. But I think I'm just going to keep it simple. We need to break this center up. This center is getting a little too big. So let's throw a stone in there. I wanted to play something like M8, but I think that this will be enough. And the reason I think that this will be enough is we have many points on this board, and black does not. Black has all the potential, though. So just as long as we don't let black convert this into too many points, we should be able to win. We've got a very large corner down here. We've got a very large corner up here. We've got a pretty large side here. And black doesn't really have any solidified points yet. Even this corner. This corner looks like it could be something, but it's not quite points yet. And now that we're strong here, we can even consider a move like this to further reduce this side. Black played this to look to grow that, and that's fine. But this isn't going to be enough to win the game. Okay, I think playing this Hane is an acceptable thing to do. I'm curious to see if black cuts or plays the Hane. I think those are probably the two moves that black should be considering here. So let's see where our friend plays. So black plays there, and that is fine. What do we want to do now? Do we just want to play the shape move? We could consider something like this. I think this is probably the best shape move. I will gladly give this stone up. So let's see what black does now. Worth noting, R3 still has some trickiness to it. The fact that black is stronger over here makes it a little more dangerous for us, but there's still some really good Aji in there that we can potentially get to in this game. Okay, so black does indeed go after that stone. We can connect, but I think the best answer is just to play this shape move to connect, and this will solidify us so we can break into this center here. Okay, so now black plays there. So it's interesting because now we can connect and it comes in Sente. The question is it worth saving these 3 stones? And because it comes in Sente, I think it is worth saving them. We could very easily sacrifice these stones, but black has too many cuts here. So I think we should play this. Okay, so now I think it is time to start destroying the center. So let's just jump on in. We're just going to keep on going, and black is going to have to choose to either solidify this territory or solidify this territory, but they are not going to be able to do both. I don't know what that one does. I guess ironically enough, I was going to play G15 very shortly, so maybe this is a fine move. I think this is bigger. So let's just keep on going in and see what black's plan is for stopping the damage that this is going to inflict. Okay, so I'm not so sure about that plan. We can just Atari We can Atari this way and kill it. But I think we're just going to Atari here. And I suspect black is going to play right here to get the double Atari. The problem is these 4 stones, they are not that big. And getting this Panuki is actually bigger. So this is a situation we need to recognize what stones are important here. And these 4 aren't it. They're so small. They are only 8 points. So if we go and play here and black captures, black will have spent 2 moves to get 8 points. But this Panuki and then breaking in is so much more than 8 points. And so black probably feels like they got something good here. But it's just not the case. And now black's playing another move to go after 1 stone. These stones are not important. And so now we get to jump in even more and play something just as simple as this. And where's black's territory going? All this potential is getting thrown away now, which is unfortunate. Black had a good chance to get a lot of points in here, but is not going to be able to do anything about that. So let's see. How do we want to handle this one? I think we can Atari here and then connect, because this cut doesn't work, because we Atari the stone and capture, because our shape is fantastic here. Good shape really, really helps with fights. Of course, now we're being forced to play an empty triangle, but our shape was good enough that we were able to maneuver through this. And so now our group is fully alive. We don't have any weak groups on this board. So black's going to have trouble reducing anything of ours. And black's center has fallen apart. And so I think we're going to have a pretty easy time securing this one. I would have liked to have seen black play L11, try to be a little more forceful. But here, we're obviously going to block this. And black pushes. I think we can Hane at the head of 2 and see that this has just been reduced to ashes. Now that this is strong, we'll be able to play a move like K17 and probably be able to come back, or to keep it real simple and play K16. We can play things over here, but this is going to all turn into Dame. It's not going to turn into much. Black is peeping. Sure, we will connect. Black is peeping there. Sure, we will connect. I'm not sure what black is getting out of these peeps, but they're obviously interested in playing them because we get a 3rd peep in a row. Okay, so black is pushing out here, but I don't know what this is going to turn into, and I think the bigger area now is up here. So let's play a move like K16 and see what kind of reduction we can get on this top side. Okay, so black just connects, and so we can look at the Hane. I'm kind of interested in that, but I think just extending is perfectly fine, because black is not going to be able to disconnect us here. And so now we can look at playing just a simple move here to threaten to monkey jump in to fully take this away. We will protect that that Atari. That was an important one. And here I think we can, this shape is ugly. Like, this shape's really ugly, but it does protect our cuts. If black takes this cut, we connect. If black takes this cut, we connect. So we have Miai between those 2. And so at this point, we can just reduce black's territories. We can reduce the corner. We can slide in here. We can reduce here, and we should be in pretty good shape. Okay, and we even got black to respond here. So what do we want to do? What do we want the first reduction to be? Let's see if our friend knows how to handle R3. This is a much less scary move now because black's so strong nearby, but I'm curious to see if they know how to handle this. I would be looking at playing S5. And unfortunately, they didn't. So I get to show you the massive reduction that can happen if our opponents answer with Q3. Now, this was late for this invasion because of how strong black is over here, because it's important to be able to have the option to run this way. But either way, when our opponent blocks here, we get to Atari on the second line. Now, black cannot play S4 because they end up losing the stone if they do that. And so black has to play R4, else we connect to the R3 stone. So I suspect black's going to play R4. Oh, that is most unfortunate. So we're going to play this Atari into this Atari. And we can even descend one more time. And so did we just get that in Sente? I think we just got that in Sente. And so we can further reduce. So let's go take our monkey jump over here. And we will connect. And then with this, we can even just keep on going. Monkey jumps get real tough if we do not answer them correctly. And unfortunately, black missed out on this one, so we get to keep on going. And we get to keep on going. And this pretty much eliminates all of black's points here. Our next big endgame move is attaching here. It does get to a point where second line moves become the big moves. This one's been there for a while, and Q18 is our other big endgame move, and then obviously the stuff in here. And so at this point, this game is pretty settled. We've got a very large left side, a very large right side, and black center has fallen apart. So I will catch you guys at the end of this game, where we'll go over the review, and we'll see what our friend could have done better. I'll see you guys at the end of the game test. Okay, so here we are at the end of the game, and as we expected, this was a pretty comfortable win, as it tends to be when our opponents try to take the center. But either way, let's go into the review and see what our friend could have done differently this game. Okay, so here we are, and we will go over the moves from my opponent's perspective, so we'll be commenting mostly on black. Nothing wrong with this approach. Obviously, we're aware that the typical approach is to either play here or here, but there's nothing wrong with playing the farther approach here. We ignored, approached. All these seem fine. This move seems this one already seems a little off, right? So if we're looking at this, we've got some corners that are open. Black did approach our stone here, and we didn't do anything. So potentially a follow up here. We could look at the shoulder hit. We could look at something like F17 to put more pressure on the stone. But right now, we probably don't need to do anything to these two stones. We could potentially do something to strengthen this corner, either that extension or this extension, or go after this stone. That's probably what I would do here. Playing this just feels a little off, having a fourth line stone and then a third line stone in the middle. Usually you want to do it the other way around. This can be very easily undercut later in the game. But this is, probably one of the smaller sides of the board at this point, right? The top is bigger and both corners are bigger. So I probably would have done something with the corners or the top side, but not too big of a mistake. Black pincers, that's fine. And then this is an interesting choice. And it feels off, but it could be playable. And then black chooses to play here to go after that stone. And that's fine, but I think the typical response also does a fine enough job of doing that, right? When black gets to extend here, and then we take this exchange, black will usually play here. And yeah, there's some Aji here. And I guess this doesn't feel too differently, right? Because this stone is captured well enough, but we do still have some Aji with it, right? So it's possible that white could end up living with this group. So it just feels a little off and letting us get this Hane. I think this is one of the situations where the variation that we're used to is the variation for a reason. There's likely ways to exploit this shape, and this just might be good enough. This Hane does feel quite strong on this board. I do like this move for black because I wasn't sure of a good way to answer it. I wasn't really happy with my response here, so I think this was a good move by black. And then we went over this, and this is I think where things really start going off the rails because black makes a decision here by playing this fourth line stone that really sets the rest of the game in motion, where black really is going to be prioritizing influence in the center of the board, but it's just so hard to convert that center into points. And so I really would have liked to have seen black do this. And if black wanted a nice fourth line stone, this looks really nice. This is a shape that we see a lot in handicap games. But this is just a good, a very efficient use of 3 stones on the same side of the board. Playing here, for one thing, it doesn't have a great follow-up against this stone. We could have ignored it right now. But again, by playing this attach, it's similar to, it's the kind of the same Joseki, right? If going back, if we move this stone from here to here, we are familiar with this Joseki, right? Where we attach the Hane, we come back, black connects, white slides, and then black plays something like this. The difference is if we compare this to the game, everything shifts up 1 row. So while this is considered even with white getting this sized corner, what happens is when we slide up, white just gets that much more, and black really doesn't get anything more out of this. And so this feels a little too good for white. And then with black playing here, it's solidifying his decision to really go for the center, which we know is tough to maintain. Anyway, so we play here. Black ignores and plays there. I think that's fine. I think this is fine to prioritize this side. And we get, black then gives up this stone. And I think it was wise to give that stone up. I just think if this is the situation, we probably should just Tanuki. Or if we're going to give up the stone, be a little more consistent potentially and play here, force us to capture, and then play something like this to really further get the center. Again, this isn't really going to work out too well, especially since we do have a cut here. But playing this allows us to come out into the center, which is the direction that black wants to be going, while also killing this stone. But the Hane is good. These are good moves from black. I think this is at least consistent with what black is trying to get here. But getting this in Gote, it hurts a little bit. We play a small move, but strong. We could have continued to push out. I didn't want black to get this in Sensei later, and so I decided to play here, knowing that I could threaten to connect up. And this is just a good means of protecting that cut, which is really all we were looking for. Seems a little small, but that's fine. And then black plays here. And again, this is similar to the last bus ride video that we did where our opponent also tried to get the center and played a very similar move. This is a good move in terms of having the plan of getting the center. It's just this board, black's giving us too many points. And so I don't think black can really get away with this. I should have just played here. This was a little greedy. It's a weaker shape. And then black goes up here. This is again all fine. This is very consistent with black's plan, even blocking here. I would have liked to have seen black probably play here or here. I think these are probably the 2 best options at this point because there's more potential here. And so we want to block that from coming in. And so, if black had played here, yeah, this is annoying, but we can block. Black can block fine. And this really starts turning this center into a lot, except for the fact that we can still break in. But there's potential to mess this up, right? And what I mean by mess up is mess up what we're trying to do, and black could break through. I know I clicked through that pretty quickly, but we have our weaknesses as well. So we can't just go blazing into black's house here, right? But either way, this just gives us a free move to come in, and now we just get to start tearing things apart. And this is truly where things start falling apart. But there are a few things I want to go over in this game in the second half, and so we can start here. And the first one is with this move. We can treat this as an invasion, and it's worth noting that I play this move. I want to get a good reduction, but then later I mentioned I'm totally willing to sacrifice the stone, and that might come off a little weird, where you're like, hey, you know, if you're just going to sacrifice this stone, why are we even playing it? Well, in this case, you know, this move is meant to be flexible. It might just end up being where we dive in and fully break up this bottom, or it could be used to get strength in the center, which is what ended up happening in this game. But we need to be flexible. We can't be married to this stone. We need to know that we can sacrifice this stone if it's for the greater good of the board, right? And so going through, you know, even when I said we got here, I was like, okay, I'm willing to give up K5. And I knew in the back of my mind, I was like, I'm willing to give up any of these stones as long as we break into the center. And that's what happened. And so you'll notice we didn't even bother saving this stone. And if black had captured here, I'm not sure I saved these 2 stones either. I probably still just play something like this because I'm willing to give these stones up. And what am I getting out of these stones? It's as simple as we got these stones. And these are enough. They're nice and strong now. We've got fantastic shape here. We can't get cut. And that's what these 3 stones did for us. Sacrificing these 3 stones gives us the strength to truly just break up the center. Here, I did decide to save because it comes in Sente. If black, I don't know, if black plays something like this, we have this Atari into this Atari into this Atari. So here, that's the only reason I played here, because it's worth noting that when we come back to this and black played here, we were more than willing to give these 4 stones up. And remember, it's important. You need to be willing to give these stones up because they're not doing anything right now. They are just 8 points. And it takes 2 of black's moves to capture them. So all we need to do is find 2 moves on this board that are larger than 8 points combined. So we need 2 4-point moves. Can you find 2 4-point moves on this board? I hope you can, because the first one's real easy. It's just this capture, right? That's what we did. Black captured the stones, and then we played here. And black just lost a ton of points here. You know, yes, got 8 points in double gote to capture this. So that's the first thing I wanted to go over. And then the next thing I wanted to go over is when we play the 3-3. So here, black, if you're in this situation and you have this kind of strength over here, typically the response you want to do is to descend here. It blocks white's escape this way. And so really the only option white has is to come this way, but there's just not enough room to live. When we play this invasion earlier in the game, when these stones aren't here, it's tougher because black can end up losing this corner. And so sometimes black will play here, like in the game. But this is a big concession because what normally happens, so I mentioned here that black can't play this move, which unfortunately they did this game because we get this, we get to capture the stone. But if black properly plays here, it's still not a great result for black. We extend, black plays this. And then you think that it ends here, but it doesn't. Because white has this Atari, and black can't descend because then we connect and these 2 stones die. So the best black can do is capture the stone, and then we have this Atari. And then all of a sudden, where did black's corner go? Like, it completely disappeared. The corner is completely gone. And this is just terrible. And so that's why, especially here, I would have liked to have seen black play here. And the rest of the game is really just us reducing black, and we went over during the game, just playing the big end game move. So I don't think it's worth going over that now, because if black hadn't focused so much of their energy on the center of this board, the game would have obviously turned a little differently. So anyway, that's where we're going to leave this one. Thank you guys for coming out for another Ride in the Struggle Bus, where every wheel's an empty triangle. Have a good one, guys.